All right, all right, all right. Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, from wherever it is that you're joining us from. Karibuni sana. Hope you're well. And I think I can also say Happy New Month. I think we haven't seen, or you guys haven't seen us this month. Since the end of last month, had a bit of technical issues with our Zoom and stuff, but at least we're back. You can join us on YouTube for the remainder of the year as our team tries to sort out a couple of issues on Zoom, but we're really glad that you could join us. Karibuni sana. So for the sake of guys who are joining us for the first time in the Afriforex daily analysis, my name is John Bogo. I'm a trader with Afriforex. Afriforex is a trading unit, so it's not a one-man show. So Mitch, unfortunately, is not here. In as much as it's not a one-man show, it happens to be his birthday today, so I think he's having a bit of a break. But feel free to wish your happy birthdays to him on the chat box, of course, on the YouTube channel. So John is my name. I'm a trader, like I pointed out. So we do this every morning. So feel free to join us with the same link that you did use to join us, or rather on YouTube. Please remember to like and subscribe so that at least every time we're live, then at least you will be able to find us here. So we're going to jump straight into it. So we'll start off by looking at the watch list as always. So let me just see if I can get that out. And of course, considering the fact that we haven't been here the last few days, then that means that there isn't pretty much of a recap that we're going to be doing. So the watch list for today is as follows, and you can see it right there. So Monday the 13th, the 11th of November, 2024, you can't see what we're going to be watching out for. So buying opportunities on the US dollar and on the Great British Pound, mixing and matching that up with everything else on the sell side. So hopefully you can end up taking note of that. So we're going to start off with the USD pairs. So we're going to mix and match up everything on the sell side, or rather the currency pairs with the US dollar, then move on to the Great British Pound. Then as always, we're going to finish off with the indices and the commodities. So for this one, this is the US dollar against the Swiss franc. For this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So these are the three areas we will be watching out for. So hopefully you can end up taking note of them. So you can see the aggressive areas down here. On Friday, the markets really went up quite aggressively. Some strength that came in on the USDs. Of course, a couple of fundamentals that did end up coming out to show us that, as well as, of course, the USD has also been showing a lot of strength, especially after Trump won the election. So I think there's a lot of optimism that's coming in on the USD. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. Let's see what happens within these three areas right here. In terms of looking for buying opportunities right now, it might not really be the best of ideas, because you could easily find that the market could react off this area right here. So we will be waiting to see whether we can get the market at least coming back in within this region here. If we do get the pullback, hopefully maybe during the London session, and of course during the US session from around 5:30, we do find the market somewhere within this region here, then possibly we could try and see whether we could get some sort of buying opportunities off this region here. So also watch out for this area at the bottom right here. Also a possibility the market can come back in within that region. If it does, this is definitely going to be the last area where we will be trying to see whether we can get aggressive buying opportunities. So also watch out for this region at the top. Of course, in case the market breaks and holds above that region, then of course we can end up looking for more conservative buying opportunities. So the next one, this is the euro against the US dollar. So this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get sells. So bear in mind that the USD is on the right. So it's the counter currency pair. So that means that if we want to see that strength on the USD, then that means that this chart should be coming down. So for this one, hopefully you can end up taking note of those three areas right there. So we will be waiting to see whether we can get the market coming back in within this region here. If it does, then hopefully we could try and see whether we could get, some selling opportunities of this area here. Maybe you could find the pullback happening during the London session, during the US session. You could find the market coming down, but also watch out for the region at the top right there. Also a possibility. We could find the market. I mean, if it does find its way back in within that region, then at least we can try and see whether we could get some sales within that area. So hopefully you can end up taking note of those three areas right there. So the next one, this is the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities as well. So these are the three areas we're going to be keeping our eyes locked on to see what happens. So hopefully you can also end up taking note of that. So we will be waiting to see if we can get the market, hopefully either breaking beneath this region to the downside. If we do get, a nice strong breach to the downside, hopefully the market pulls back in within this region here, but is unable to actually break and hold to the upside of this area, then we could try and see whether we could get some sells within there. So far, it's not looking too bad. If you look at how the sellers came down, this was during the US session on Friday, and how the market has pulled back in within this region. I mean, you can't see that the buyers are really struggling, which is good, and that's what we want to see. So we will be waiting to see what happens, hopefully within this area here. And of course, if we do get some good, price action signals within this area, and visibly we can't see that the buyers are struggling within that area. If we do get that pullback after the market breaks to the downside, then at least we could try and see whether we could get sales within there. But also remember, there's also a possibility price can also come back in within here. I mean, if the big boys do need a much better price, then there's a possibility we could find the market, during the London session coming back in within here. Then hopefully during the US session, if we do get the market setting itself up quite well within that region, then we could also try and see whether we could get some selling opportunities there. So hopefully you can end up taking note of those three areas right there. So moving on into the next USD pair, this is the US dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. Bear in mind that on this one, the USD is back to the left. So it's the base currency pair. So it's the basis of what we're doing. And of course, we're trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So hopefully you can end up taking note of those three areas. There's a lot of weakness that's coming on the yen pairs. If you do end up looking at the rest of the yen pairs, I mean, holistically, you will see that there's a lot of weakness that's coming in, especially today morning. So these pullbacks that are coming in, it's definitely something that's there on all the yen pairs. So it doesn't really have much to do with the USD. But for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. The buyers do seem like they're already there. So we can see that the market has just broken above this region to the upside. So we will be waiting to see what happens. There's a possibility the market could possibly tap in within this area here. And of course, if we do get a nice reaction of the buyers and the market actually gets pushed to the upside of this area and actually holds above that region, then possibly we could try and see whether we could get some good buying opportunities off this area right here, coming up till within this region here. So let's see what happens. But also remember, in case the market breaks and holds beneath here, then there's a possibility you could find some sort of a pullback coming in, and you could find maybe the market might need to retest within this region before we do get some proper buying opportunities, maybe during the US session. So also just make sure that you also do watch out for that. So that's pretty much it in terms of the US dollar against the Japanese yen. So we're going to move on to the next one. This is the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities on this one as well. So these are the three areas that we're going to be trying to see whether we can get buying opportunities. So the conservative area is somewhere high up there. Don't really look for the buys now. I mean, the market is just testing this region here. We're not too sure what type of reaction we could possibly end up getting, off the sellers who are sitting within this region. The buyers have come up within this area, and you can't see that they've reacted off this region before, the sellers, that is. So we can't quite tell what type of reaction we could get. So you could find the market coming back in within here. The buyers might need to be pushed back in within their region, maybe to regroup before they attempt to break this region to the upside. But in case that doesn't happen, then we'll definitely have to wait and see if we can get a breach of this region to the upside, because any buys when the market is just holding beneath that region to the downside might not actually be very safe. You could easily end up running into issues with the opposite party. So just make sure that you watch out for that. Of course, remember the red SNR at the bottom. It's a bit of a long shot, but like we always keep on pointing out, in case the big boys do need that price, then at least make sure that you're ready for it. And of course, in case the market breaks beneath that red SNR to the downside, then unfortunately at that point in time, there will be no trade for us. So last but not least, for the USD pairs, we have the Australian dollar against the US dollar. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some sells. on this one. So the USD is back to the right. So it's the counter currency pair. So for this one, we're going to be waiting to see whether we can get the pullback happening. Of course, the pullback has already started from Friday. Can't see that during the Asian session, the market is still pushing up. Let's see what happens within this region here. I mean, if we do get, the market at least coming back in within this area here, and hopefully the buyers do run out of steam, and the sellers do actually end up showing up, maybe we do need these sellers to actually get the job done. You can't see that on Friday they pushed the market to the downside quite aggressively off this area here. So there's a possibility in case the market comes back in within that area, then hopefully we could get some good selling opportunities. So make sure that you watch out for that. In case that does happen, that's definitely what I'm going to be watching out for. But also remember the region at the top, there's also a possibility. I mean, if these sellers are not able to push the market to the downside, then you could find the market coming back in somewhere within this region here. So in case that does happen, then at least we should also be ready for that. So that's pretty much it in terms of the USD pairs. So right now we're going to move on to the GBP pairs and do the same. So we're going to mix and match them up with everything on the sell side, on the currency pairs on the sell side. So we're going to start off with the Great British Pound against the Swiss franc. So for this one, I'm going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So you can't see that the market is already moving up, but like we always keep on pointing out, you should not be chasing. So make sure that you always do wait for those pullbacks to come in. And of course, at least the market is going to the upside, which is good. So hopefully we just get the market maybe tapping back in within here. Then maybe we could get some buying opportunities. There are some sellers who are sitting within this area here, and you can't see that the market did push to the downside of this region. So you're not quite so sure what they might do. Maybe during the London session, we could find the market just pushing back within this region here. And of course, if that does happen, then at least we could try and see whether we could get those buying opportunities to move to the upside. So let's see what happens. Of course, if you're a real sniper on the charts, maybe in case the market breaks above here, and holds above here, you could try and see whether you could get some buying opportunities. The only tricky part about it is that getting a proper risk to reward, especially you can't see that it's only about 15 pips going up. So unless you're really going to get a really tight stop, you're actually better off either waiting for the market to continue moving up and break this region to the upside. But I think we just should keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully, in case the market comes back in within this region here, then maybe we could try and see whether we could get some proper buying opportunities. I think there could be some within that region. But also watch out for the region at the bottom. I mean, in case the market finds its way there, then at least we also should be ready for that. So moving on into the next one. This is the euro against the Great British Pound. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities. Reason being, the Great British Pound is the counter currency pair, which means that if we're going to be buying the Great British Pound, then that means that we should be selling the euro, and that's exactly what we should be doing. So for this one, the market is down within some sort of a support region. So it might not really be the best of ideas in terms of looking for the selling opportunities right now. So unless the market breaks beneath this region to the downside, maybe pulls back and holds within that area, we could try and see whether we could get some sales within that area. Alternatively, just give these buyers the benefit of doubt. They could easily end up pushing the market back within this area, maybe during the London session. There's a high probability, especially for price to push itself off regions of support or resistance, especially during the market opening time. So you could find that just because the market is hovering above this region and the London session comes in, let's say at around 11, and you find that the big boys in London actually push the market to the upside fast, then possibly set the market up, and maybe the US big boys could find the market somewhere within here for them to actually end up taking those selling opportunities. So hopefully we do get that, then that's okay. In case that doesn't happen, and hopefully the London big boys break beneath this region to the downside, you could find the pullback coming back in within here, and you could still find, the market somewhere back within here during the US session. And the London big boys would have actually set up the market for the US big boys. So let's wait and see which alternative we end up getting. But also remember the region at the top, bit of a long shot, but like we always say, you're better off having something and not needing it rather than needing something and not having it. So you're better off actually just having that level there just in case the market finds its way there. So the next one, this is the Great British Pound against the New Zealand dollar. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So these are the three areas I will be watching out to see whether I can get some buys. So in case the market breaks above this region to the upside, hopefully we do get a nice proper hold within this area here, maybe even some attempts, of the sellers to actually break the market to the downside, and they actually end up being unsuccessful. Then we possibly could find some good buying opportunities within this region to move to the upside. But you also could find the market bouncing off this area to the downside. So it could easily bounce off here, find the market back within this region here, and you could find, some buying opportunities possibly happening off this region much later on. So we'll just have to wait and see what alternative we get. But at least there's some buyers who are somewhere within here, but let them push the market back to the upside of this region. If you look for buys when the market is just within this area, you could easily get yourself into some sort of squeeze, within this region here, and, a lot of emotional turmoil or some sort of an emotional roller coaster, which might not really be worth it. So just wait and see what does end up happening, but at least a breach above that region to the upside, I think you should be safe after that. So the next one, this is the Great British Pound against the Japanese yen. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. Remember, I pointed out the yen pairs have already started showing a lot of weakness, right from the stroke of midnight, and you can't see that the market has been moving to the upside. Right now, the market has come back in to challenge these sellers within here. Let's see what happens. Hopefully, if they do end up reacting, but they can't break beneath this region to the downside, I think we could get the market continuing to rally up. Maybe we do need some sort of a pullback, some sort of a retest within this area here. Then possibly we could get the market continuing to push to the upside. So let's wait and see what does end up happening on this one. And of course, remember the region at the bottom right here. Of course, you could also find the market coming back in within this region here before the market does push to the upside. So watch out for that. And of course, remember to manage your trades at the top, unless you want to sign up for some sort of disappointments, because you could find the market bouncing off that region there, and you easily could end up getting taken to square one. So just make sure that you're also on top of things when it comes to money management. So the next one, this is the Great British Pound against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we also can end up getting some buying opportunities. So you can see the market did give some sort of major pullback. This was on Friday, off this area here, coming down, bounced off this area, and you can see that the market during the Asian session is just more or less holding within this area. So we will be trying to see, hopefully if the buyers can possibly end up pushing above this region to the upside, maybe we could get the market coming back in within this area here, and you could find some good buying opportunities here. But there's also a possibility, based on the fact that the buyers are not yet quite in, and you can't see that the sellers came down aggressively. The buyers have retaliated, but the retaliation is not really what we want to see. So there's a possibility you could find that these sellers who came down will possibly be attempting to break their previous record, which currently stands somewhere within this region here. And if that does happen, then you could find that maybe from around 5:30, maybe price could be back in within this region here, and you could find the buys possibly taking off from within that area. So let's see what happens, but those are basically the two options that I will be watching out for. And of course, remember the red SNR at the bottom, in case the market does end up breaking beneath that region to the downside and holds below, then unfortunately at that point in time, there will be no trade for us. So last but not least, in terms of the currency pairs, we do have the Great British Pound against the Australian dollar. So for this one, we'll be trying to see whether we also can end up getting some buys. I can see that on Friday, at least the market did start to push to the upside. We're getting some sort of a pullback coming in, which is coming in nice and easy, which is good. But hopefully we could get the market at least coming back in within this area. I think some good buying opportunities could be best placed within this region here. We could get the market turning around off this area here. So you could find that, if it doesn't happen during the London session, maybe during the US session, let's see what happens. And of course, if that doesn't happen, then I guess we'll possibly have to wait and see if we can get the market breaking above this region to the upside. If that doesn't end up happening, then maybe we could try and see whether we could get some more conservative buying opportunities higher up within here. Some of you could also be cowboys. If you do end up getting some buys within here, 38, nearly 39 pips is not too bad. But I think you also need to be a real sniper on the charts, to get some proper entries within here, because there are quite a number of SNRs within here. But of course, the major ones seem to be these two that I've pointed out. Maybe the next one could be somewhere within here. Maybe a breach above this region to the upside could be a quick buy. But generally, if you want to play it safe on the charts, I think you're better off looking for the buys either here or somewhere within this region here. So watch out for that. And of course, like I always keep on pointing out, also watch out for the red SNR. Bit of a long shot, but I mean, if the market does need that price, then of course you should also be ready for it as well. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of the currency pairs. So right now we're going to move on to the indices and the commodities. So you can see gold, silver on the sell side, the US 30 and the NAS 100 are both on the buy side. So we're going to start off with the indices. So for this one, this is the NAS 100. We're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So these are the three areas that we will be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities, and also regions where we can also end up managing our trades. So let's see what happens. In terms of looking for buys now, that's a horrible idea. You can see that we're holding just within or beneath some sort of a resistance region. So you could find the market possibly reacting off this area here. And I think this one is also at an all-time high. Don't think we've quite been within this region ever. If I do end up going to the daily, you will see that price has not been there. I think even on the weekly, were to go there, you'd actually end up seeing that, price has never really been there. So you can see this was the dinosaur age. There was no data past that, and you can see that right now we're more or less at an all-time high somewhere within that region. Possibly also something still to do with the Trump elections. I mean, Trump winning the elections, because even Bitcoin is also at an all-time high right now. So I guess it's interesting times. But in terms of looking for buys right now, let's wait and see if we can get the pullback. You can see that the market is reacting off this region here. So that tells us that there's definitely some sort of a resistance area that's possibly going to be forming off that area there. But considering the fact that the market broke above this area, because this was the previous high, it broke to the upside, never really pulled back in within here. The safest bet in terms of looking for buys is definitely here. When the market comes back in for some sort of a retest within that region. So let's see what happens within that area there. In case the market breaks above this area to the upside, then you could possibly try and see whether you could get the pullback coming back in within here. But you'll have to wait and see how far the market goes before it pulls back. Because if you hit the buys as the market is going up, I think your money management also needs to be quite tight, because you're headed towards oblivion. I mean, you don't even know where you're heading. So, the market could easily end up turning back on you. But you see, when the market makes the high, comes back in within here, when you at least end up hitting the buy from here, then you can end up using the high as a reference point. So it's a similar situation with this region right here. We know the high is here. At least if the market comes back in within here, then at least we know if we hit the buys, then we could easily end up targeting, somewhere within this area here. So let's see what happens. But of course, the bias is to look for buying opportunities. For as long as we're holding above that red SNR, then the bias should be to look for buying opportunities. If you do get some sells, you can take them, but just make sure that you're also well aware that the selling opportunities that you're taking are counters, and the buyers could easily show up at any given point in time without any warning. So just make sure that you're also well aware of that. So the next one, this is the Dow Jones or the US 30. So for this one, I'm going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. You can see that the market did push up quite aggressively on Friday. I think this one is also at an all-time high, if I'm not too wrong. Yeah, you can see also this one as well. We've never really been here before. So first time ever we're within that region. So we will be trying to see whether we can get buys. Right now, the high is somewhere within there. It's either the market breaks above this region to the upside, and hopefully we get the pullback and the hold above there, then at least we could get the buys within here, targeting the high, whatever that's going to be. Alternatively, we get the market pulling back in within here, because there's a high probability possibly could, because you can't see that the market broke above this area to the upside. There's an SNR either here or somewhere within here. But of course, considering the fact that there's no data to the left, that means that, we possibly tried putting this one just in the middle, somewhere between here and here. So somewhere within this region here, there's a possibility price might possibly just come back in within there. It does. then at least be ready for that. So also watch out for the red SNR. Of course, for as long as we're holding above that region to the upside, then we should be looking for buying opportunities. So the next one, this is silver. So for silver, the bias is to look for selling opportunities, and the levels seem like they're a bit wide, but it's because we've incorporated the story of what has happened most recently, especially on the 1 hour time frame. You can see that there was a major push by the sellers somewhere within this region here. So for as long as we're holding beneath this region to the downside, then we should be looking for selling opportunities. So you can see that there was this big sell that came in on Wednesday. We've more or less been holding or been held hostage by these sellers here. And you can see that the buyers have been trying to come in, but the sellers more or less are still containing them. So we will be trying to see whether we can get some sort of a pullback coming in, either back within this region here. If we do, then at least we could try and see whether we could get some selling opportunities within there. And of course, in case the market breaks beneath this region to the downside, because there's a major support region within this area here, you don't really want to be hitting your, selling opportunities within that area. You could easily end up running into issues. I think you're safer if generally we do clear this region to the downside, then at least you could try and see whether we could get some sells, somewhere within that region there. So watch out for that. Also remember the region at the top. I mean, the buyers can come in, and I mean, if the sellers do actually need that higher price, maybe incite, more of the opposite party to come in, so that they can actually end up really hitting their sells, then at least you also should be ready for that price at the top right there. So last but not least, we do have gold. Now for gold, we're also going to be trying to see whether we can get some sells. So these are the three areas we'll be watching out for, almost something similar to what we've seen on silver. So you can see that seller who came in on Wednesday, and more or less the market has been contained within this region here. So for as long as we're holding beneath this region to the downside, we should be looking for sells. Ideally, of course, if you do get some counters and you want to take some buys, of course you can take the buys, but you just need to be well aware that the sellers are generally in control. So for this one, these are the three areas we will be watching out for. So in terms of hitting sales now, might not really be the best of ideas. You could find, hopefully, either the market bounces off somewhere within this region here, because you can see that there's also some sort of an SNR within this area here that the buyer did actually push to the upside. So you could find either the pullback could come in and the market could come back in within this region here. And if that does happen, then you could find that maybe during the US session, we could get some sells off that area there. In case that doesn't happen, then we could possibly end up breaking beneath this region to the downside. And of course, on the pullback, when the market comes back in within there, then you could possibly try and see whether you could get some selling opportunities. So also watch out for the region at the top. I mean, in case the market does come back in within there, also could find some sells within there. I can see that there are some major sellers who started the push to the downside on Wednesday. So, I mean, if the market does pull back in, you could get some quick buys maybe coming in. But generally, you can see that these sellers within here are quite in control. So just make sure that you're also well aware of that. So in case, hopefully, the market breaks above this region to the upside and holds above here, then at least you can look for buying opportunities more confidently, which means that if you're looking for buys when the market is holding beneath this region to the downside, don't be overconfident with your buying opportunities. You might actually not end up getting too far, before this big seller actually does end up showing up. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of everything. So I hope guys have taken note of everything we've discussed here. And of course, in case anything wasn't too clear, feel free to rewatch. I mean, this thing is on YouTube, so you can rewatch as many times as you want to until you get it. And of course, if you do have any queries or any questions, also feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details should be there on the video description of this video. Down at the bottom, you should find our contact details. Also, if you do want to send us your screenshots, I know most of you are accustomed to sending us your screenshots, and we're always really happy to see what you guys are up to in the chats. Also, feel free to send them into us via WhatsApp. Our contact details should be there. So unfortunately, I can't access the chat box today, but of course, since we're new in terms of doing this fully on YouTube, we'll figure something out by tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll get that resolved. But of course, if in case, you do have any questions, feel free to also possibly end up sending them into us via WhatsApp. And also, hopefully tomorrow we should have me possibly being able to access the chat box from tomorrow, and we can see how best we can end up helping you. So I guess that's pretty much it. Hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow. Also remember to like and subscribe, and also turn on the bell notification so that when we're live, then you'll definitely be notified. So happy trading, guys, and bye for now. May the peace be with you. God bless.